तेरे चरणों में स्वामी कोटि प्रणाम। तुम्ही प्रेरणा, तुम्ही साधना, तुम्ही प्रेरणा, तुम्ही साधना, तुम्ही प्रेरणा, तुम्ही साधना, तुम्ही आराधना मेरे नाम शिवा, तुम्ही आराधना मेरे नाम शिवा, तुम्ही मेरे नाम शिवा, तुम्ही आराधना मेरे नाम शिवा। गुरु माता पिता गुरु बंधु सखा, गुरु माता पिता गुरु बंधु सखा, तेरे चरणों में कोटि प्रणाम, तेरे चरणों में कोटि प्रणाम। प्रिय नाम तुम्ही, 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 तेरे चरणों में स्वामी मेरे कोटि, तेरे चरणों में स्वामी मेरे कोटि प्रणाम, चरणों में स्वामी मेरे कोटि, तेरे चरणों में स्वामी मेरे कोटि प्रणाम। तेरे चरणों में स्वामी मेरे कोटि प्रणाम। मानस भज रे गुरु चरणम, मानस भज रे गुरु चरणम, दुस्तर भव सागर तरणम, दुस्तर भव सागर तरणम, मानस भज रे गुरु चरणम, मानस भज रे गुरु चरणम, दुस्तर भव सागर तरणम, दुस्तर जगदोधारिणी माता दुर्गा जगदोधारिणी दोधारिणी माता दुर्गा जगदोधारिणी जागो जागो माँ जागो जागो माँ जागो जागो माँ जननी जागो जागो माँ जागो जागो माँ जागो जागो माँ जननी दुर्गा देवी रणचण्डी देवी हे दुर्गा देवी रणचण्डी देवी हे शिवरमणा जागो माँ हे दुर्गा देवी रणचण्डी देवी हे दुर्गा देवी रणचण्डी देवी हे शिवरमणा जागो माँ हे शिवरमणा जागो माँ हे शिवरमणा जागो माँ हे शिवरमणा जागो माँ जगदोधारिणी माता दुर्गा जगदोधारिणी 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 माँ जागो जागो माँ जागो जागो माँ जागो जागो माँ जननी जागो जागो माँ जागो जागो माँ जागो जागो माँ जननी हे दुर्गा देवी रणचण्डी देवी हे दुर्गा देवी रणचण्डी देवी हे शिवरमणा जागो माँ हे शिवरमणा जागो माँ हे शिवरमणा जागो माँ हे शिवरमणा जागो माँ जगदोधारिणी माता दुर्गा जगदोधारिणी माँ जगदोधारिणी माता दुर्गा जगदोधारिणी जगदोधारिणी माँ
Three ohms and some meditation.
say something about the Swami. The Swami is there. So we'll just wait till 11 o'clock to start. Oh, okay. Yeah, he's. Oh, I see. Yeah, hello everybody. We'll just wait till 11. Swami sees here. Main. Yeah, I will in a minute. I'll first get our audience set up. Yeah. So I think this is a good center shot. Looks like okay. You're on mute. Good morning.
Good morning. I just had the experience of moving without moving. Shall we begin? Or you have to do our chant first?
We have 4 more minutes.
If you can wait 4 minutes according, yeah, it's 4 minutes.
All right. Very good.
You have a chant.
No. If you yeah.
It's on.
I think this is the microphone. Yeah, it's yours. You want to read it?
I have.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Haima.
Good morning, Swami C. Namaste.
Namaskar, indeed. Namaste. Hello, Oma. And Jaime or Jaime. Good morning, Barton. What a great name.
Good morning. I'm sorry. I'm getting my Zoom hooked up here. Thank you. Good morning.
Certainly, no worries.
Hey, big man.
So maybe in a couple of minutes you can lead the chant.
Okay.
It's still before we turn it over to Swami C. Just a minute more.
Should we start our meeting with our prayer for peace?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I have.
Thank you.
So I think we are supposed to start the prayer whenever we're ready. A minute more.
I think he's waiting until 11 o'clock.
11. Okay. Thank you.
Good on, Swami.
Bhagavan, good morning.
How are you?
Oh, excellent.
It's cold out there walking the dog.
Yes, but it's California cold here.
So not cold?
No, well, it's cool out. I mean, I'm not going swimming.
Why not? I used to do the Wim Hof thing where I used to sit in the ice water for as long as I could. It actually helped.
Maharaj, can we start?
Yes.
Om Sahana Sahanao Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May the divine being
look over us lovingly as a mother and father,
May the divine being
support and nourish us as mother and father,
May we have the strength and skill
to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstanding arise amongst us.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om peace, peace, peace be unto us all.
Over to Swami C. Thank you.
Good morning. Is it my turn?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Marvelous. Oh, wonderful. How wonderful to see everybody.
Yes.
So far away. I'm now 3,000 miles away. What a strange thing. But wonderful to see you. Actually, I was farther away this morning. I gave a class for Switzerland at 6 a.m. my time. So I've been to Switzerland and back today. And just soaring. We had such a beautiful reading in the gospel. And now we're going to go jumping into the words of Vivekananda on his talking about the secret of work, although that's not the title. We're doing God through work, because that's what we're all doing all the time. Any action is work, right? Because all action is an attempt to regain balance, to regain harmony, to regain stability. And so all work is imagined because we are never out of harmony. We're never out of stability. We're never incomplete. And so work is always a sign of hunger, always a sign of thirsting. And hunger and thirsting are always a matter of imagination, because the only place we find our completeness, the only place we find our stillness is in the chapel of love, in our own heart, the drawing room of the beloved, as Sri Ramakrishna says. And God sits there waiting for as long as it takes for us to settle down. You know, we're a bunch of monkeys, drunk and stung by scorpions, let loose in a temple. So here we are, bouncing around, imagining all sorts of things and trying to solve problems that never existed. And all the while, in our deep inner self of self, we're just enjoying the play. Sitting in an audience of our heart as the observer, we've become engaged in the play as if we're a part of it. And we're weeping when the people die, and we're yelling when they fight, and we're hoping for a perfect ending. And when it's all over, we'll realize we were just sitting here in the theater seat, enjoying a wonderful performance put on by all of the imagined actors, telling us a story of love, telling us a story of wisdom, all through a moment that never began and never ended. So God through work, how do we do this? How do we make this happen? You know, Holy Mother says that we can have our realization this moment if we want it. And somehow we're just not in charge of what we want, because we've identified with a mind that we don't control. And we've placed ourselves in the world of change rather than remembering that we sit seated in the throne of the absolute unchanging in the heart. And so Swamiji is going to share with us one of the greatest lessons that he learned in his life. That's how he starts. He says, one of the greatest lessons that I have learned in my life is to pay as much attention to the means of work as to its end. Right? So he's saying what? Don't be focused on the ends of your work. Don't be focused on the results that you're hoping to get. Right? Is that because results aren't important? It's like, no, it's because results are imaginary. If you are waiting for your results, then your attention is in the future. And the one thing you can be sure of is that the future doesn't exist, that it will always simply be the present. And so Ramakrishna, or well, Vivekananda here, but Ramakrishna, why not Ramakrishna, is teaching us right now, not how to work necessarily. That's the tool. That's our object for the lesson. But really what he's teaching us to do is be present. This moment is God, not the next moment that you imagine, and not the previous moment you're also imagining. It's this moment. So he wants to bring us into our moment because he says our great defect in life is that we are so much drawn to the ideal. The goal is so much more enchanting, so much more alluring, so much bigger in our mental horizon that we lose sight of the details altogether, right? Because imagination can always be wonderful. And so what do? We don't spend time in the moment understanding that we're already realized. That's in the details. we don't live in the moment knowing that we're not the doer. And so if we're not the doer, what do we think we're doing? You know, it's wonderful. I started off a class earlier today about this idea of not being the doer. And yet when we sit down to practice, we somehow think that what we're doing is going to give us enlightenment, that it's somehow going to accumulate into some end result, right? But we don't accept the end result in the moment. We think, no, that belongs to the future, but it can't. There is no future. There's just now. And when you realize God, it's still going to be now, and you're still going to be here. So the here and now is a constant. It's not a changing, right? There's not multiple heres. There's one here. And there's not multiple nows. There's one now. There's one without a second. So we're drawn to this idea of perfection. We're drawn to this idea of attainment. You know, one day I'll have a big house and it will be big enough, which is the first lie we tell ourselves, because houses will never be big enough. We'll get our Mercedes or our car and it's fancy enough because we imagine it in the future as being fancy enough. But when we get it, we realize, oh my God, it has an expiration date on it and it takes too much gas and it needs to be tuned and it needs to be inspected, it needs to be polished and cleaned, and then it gets a dent in it and everything's over. I need another car, right? And so we're constantly imagining a beloved future where we're just going to meet the King of Kings and have this wonderful union and everything is going to be perfectly fine. And we'll just pretend in the present moment, which is all that we have, that it's not enough. And that we're not sitting in God, and we're not observing our beloved, and that we can't be silent and commune with our beloved. No, we have a narrative that we've built, and oh, is it a detailed narrative? And oh, there's so much to do, and it is so difficult, and it's going to take major amounts of discipline, and oh my God, how is this going to happen, right? And we sit down as a non-doer to do our meditation and to do our practice, and to sit here treading water until we're ready to accept that there's nothing to be done, that I am realized, I am that eternal self, ever present, ever blissful, and I'm willing to let go of my narrative and my story. I'm willing to let go of my investments of the past, my hopes for the future. I'm willing to let go of these children that I've raised and all the food that I've eaten and all the cars I've collected and all the money I've saved. I'm willing to throw it all away so that I can finally sit in the moment and stop bouncing between my past of attachments and my future of desires, letting that fall away so that I can see finally and stop seeking. He says, if we take care of the cause, the effect will take care of itself. The realization of the ideal is the effect. The means are the cause. Attention to the means, therefore, is the great secret of life. Well, you know, the secret of life. That's to do what's in front of you with your whole attention, molding it with your Chidbrahmananda as your inspiration, and sending it back out to Mother as an offering. That is the great secret of this world. And all this work that we're doing, it cannot give us realization, because realization is the one effect with no cause. So why are we doing all this work? We're doing all this work to prepare ourselves to accept it, because for some reason in this moment we can't, because we believe a narrative of self. We believe a narrative that has made us particular and small and weak, distracted and unable. And until we realize that those are all attributes that belong to no one, that I am ever free, ever pure, ever loved of God, I've never been born and I've never died, when that ceases to be a chant and becomes an expression of the heart, we will know and realize that it was all unnecessary, that Mother had us doing all of this practice simply to exhaust ourselves so that we could sit down and surrender, sit down and admit, I'm not the doer. I can't do it. I don't even know what needs to be done. Because that's the funniest thing. We're all looking for something, right? We're looking for God. One of the first requirements when you're looking for something is to know what it looks like. If you don't know what God looks like, what are you looking for? And if you're looking for something, you always start with where you had it last. Where did you have God last? I don't know. So you don't know where you had it last, and you don't know what it looks like, and yet you're embarking on an attempt to find it. Okay, that's where we're starting. That's why we need to learn the secret of doing, the secret of karma yoga, the mystery of this life, right? So he says, we also read this in the Gita and learn that we have to work, constantly work with all of our power to put our whole mind in the work, whatever it be that we are doing. At the same time, we must not be attached. Now, attached is a word that's thrown around quite a bit. It's very hard to figure out exactly what it means. Attachment means to identify with something, to think that something has something to do with you, right? Has something, describes you in some way, is a part of you in some way, is a necessary thing in some way, right? And so we go out and we buy a car. That car on the lot is just a car. But then we go and we buy it and it becomes my car. Right? So this car that was just part of the infinite absolute now becomes my car. And now suddenly, if somebody had scratched it before I purchased it, I would never even have known. I wouldn't have cared at all. But now that I've labeled it my car, scratch that thing and I'm coming after your firstborn child, you know? It's like Swami Prabhupada always loved. We had a devotee there who was vice president of Wells Fargo, actually. And he one time told Swami, you know, someone scratches my Mercedes, I bleed. And Swami loved that. He laughed so hard. He thought that was the greatest description of attachment. If someone scratches my car, I bleed, right? And then you sell that car. Now it's not me and mine anymore, and you don't care what happens to it. It's out of your driveway. That's all you were worried about. It gave you your down payment for the next attachment. And so the ego is satisfied. It has distracted you and told you a very funny story about how things are yours and how they affect you and they identify you, right? So we must not be attached. Nothing is yours, right? Nothing's yours. When you're done with the body, we're going to put it in a little box. We're going to probably put your name on it, a few flowers. We'll carry it around a little bit, look at it, and be sorry that it's going away. And then we're going to take it, we're going to dump it in a hole in the ground, and we're going to bury it. That's the end result of me and mine, right? Finally, you get to let go because you no longer have a particular point of reference to attach multiple things to define yourself. So at the same time, we must not be attached. That is to say, we must not be drawn away from the work by anything else. Again, what's that a symbol of? We must not be drawn out of this moment. We must not stop being aware of the I am, the now, God, our beloved, the very essence of love, the very essence of wisdom, through the miracle, the wonder of being. We must not be drawn away from the work by anything else, by what we're doing in this moment, fully focused, fully present. That's the reason that we need to do all this work to learn how to focus the mind. It's simply to put all of the things out of the mind that are not here and not now, right? Very rarely do we actually experience the moment. We're always experiencing something that's not here. Thoughts about my mom, thoughts about my payments, thoughts about my homework that's due next week, thoughts about the dog that's at home, right? Things that are not here. And we think about the not now. Oh, remember the good old days. Oh, this morning I had the most delicious bagel for breakfast. You know, oh, yesterday I told Sam that I would fix his car today, so I've got to do that now, right? We occupy ourselves with the not here, not now, and that makes us live in the not here, not now. which is a fancy way of saying you're living in your imagination, that you're telling yourself a story. He says, if we take care of the cause, the effect will take care of itself, right? If you are present in this moment and you go to work and you're at work and you're in the moment and you're sitting there and this piece of paper comes to you that you have to fill out, or you sit down, you fill that paper out oh so carefully, you print it so neatly so it's so wonderfully legible, and you make sure that you tell your truth all the way through. You don't lie on any of the things the form asks for. You fill it out in complete detail, you read all the instructions, you do it very nicely. And if you've paid attention and you were present and you made an offering of love and wisdom through your effort in filling out your DMV form, now you slide it across the desk to put it into the hands of the Divine Mother as your offering, and it will be perfect. That form will give you the result you were looking for, even though you never considered the result as you invested your love in the moment into what you were doing. Same thing at work. Be present, be focused, be in the now, do the task that's in your hands perfectly as an offering, just like you clean the shrine, just like you make idli for the master, very carefully, fully present, making it an offer at every step of the way. That will be the best idli you've ever made. That will be the best task you've ever turned in to your boss. And the result will come your way. At the end of the year, you'll get a great review. You'll get a nice big pay increase or a huge bonus, a gigantic bonus, I guarantee you. We're in the days of extremes. So you'll get a gigantic bonus without ever having thought about it, with ever having to work for it. You just simply stayed present, did what the mother gave to you to do out of a gratitude of love for her, for the experience of being and the hope of infinity, and you give it back to her. And you have taken a moment, you've invested it with love, and you've given that which was given to you back to the source as your offering of love, in the same way you spent your $10 for your Father's Day gift, the $10 he gave to you. So the realization of the ideal is the effect. The means are the cause, right? The means and the cause. The moment is all that we're seeking, to be super present, without any story in our head, without any assumptions, without any wandering into the thoughts of the future, not now, or wandering into the events of the past, the not here, the places where we're going to go, places that we've been. Right? The means are the cause. Attention to the means, therefore, is the great secret of life. We also read this in the Gita and learn that we have to work, constantly work with all of our power. Why? Because we are the manifester. We are the manifestation, right? God is a noun. We've talked about that, right? God is the noun of love. God is the noun of existence. God is the noun of wisdom. You and I belong to Shakti. We are the power that manifests. We are the verb of love. So God is love. We're loving. God is wisdom. We are wise. God is existence. We exist, right? And so we are always working. We're always manifesting because we are trying to manifest in the finite, the infinite ideal of perfect love, the infinite ideal of perfect wisdom. So we have to constantly work, constantly express, because there is always more and more of God, more and more of love, more and more of wisdom, to the point that Swami Brahmananda tells us that when we reach Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the very height of what we can not even imagine, actually, in this world, he says that's just the beginning. Why? Because God is infinite, and you, as the lover of God, are going to fall infinitely in love. Which means every day you wake up and you walk into the kitchen and you see the divine, you're going to love them more. You didn't think it was possible. Yesterday you went into ecstasy and couldn't even move your body for 10 hours. And then today you're going to love him even more and more and more and more. That is your destiny, your future, and you can't escape it. You're going to fall infinitely into God, infinitely into love, and it will never be finished. It will always be more beautiful. It will always be more fulfilling. It'll just be like Thanksgiving dinner. You never realize that you could eat so much. All right. So we have to put our whole mind into the work and work with all of our power, be fully present and not be attached, to not be drawn away, to move into the future, right? And that we can quit whenever we want, right? It's a wonderful thing about attachment and detachment. One of the secrets that Swamiji told me a while back, it really quite surprised me, because one of the problems I used to have with this idea of Vedanta is that detachment was the ideal. And I just imagined myself sitting on a log, just drooling, you know, completely uncaring about the whole world and being enlightened. And I thought, what is that? How can detachment be the ideal? But Thakur tells us detachment's not the ideal. What the ideal is to have our power of detachment match our power of attachment, right? They have to be the same size. If we couldn't attach, how could we love, right? Thakur, that's how he loved. When his disciple died, he wept. He was attached. He felt the pain. But when he left the room, he realized, the pillowcase was removed. That's all. And he detached, finished. So when it's appropriate to attach, when it helps with the expression of love or the expression of wisdom, we attach, and we attach deeply. We attach deeply so that that person we're attaching to feels like they have never been loved so deeply and so earnestly and so authentically in their lives. And then it comes time to go. And we keep smiling. We say goodbye. We walk away. We've detached as effectively as we attached. That's the ideal. That's what we're going for. So when we're working, we're attached. We're doing the very best as an offering. We put our whole self into it. We focus in our moment. And we got Satchitananda manifest. Satchitananda only manifests in us when we're not thinking about a future, when we're not directing it with our ego as the doer, but rather when we're just being and allowing that noun of God, which sits in the shrine of the heart, to manifest and vibrate and inspire us to action, not through hunger, but through gratitude and wonder. That is the one cause of misery, that we are attached. If you are feeling pain in your life, in any form, you know, Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj says, all pain is an invitation to inquire. Find out, there's an attachment, I'm suffering, right? I just got annoyed with the person sitting next to me. Mother has just put her finger on my boundary of ego. She's drawing my attention to it. Expand, she says. Expand, don't stop here. Make this line include the person sitting next to you so you don't feel separate from them. And then you can enjoy the oneness together. Then you can enjoy the bliss. That's the one cause of misery, that we're attached. We're being caught, right? Vivekananda says that religion is not about not enjoying the world. That's not what religion is about. Religion is about enjoying the world fully, overwhelmingly, but not getting caught in it. We can pick that orange up and we can eat it and be delighted with that fantastic taste, because we know it's a manifestation and story of what God would be if you tasted her or him. You know, you listen to that orchestra. Oh, you're transported. Why? Because you're listening to the expression of your divine lover singing to you, deeply attached, deeply in wonder. But the music stops, you don't weep. The music stops, your mind doesn't slip from the thought of God at all. It just goes forward, blissful, content, happy, never imagining a lack, never imagining a hunger, never imagining an incompleteness, but accepting fully in every moment that the moment is perfect. It's just as it should be. And learning from it, I manifest. And into it, I sacrifice. And life turns being into worship. And worship brings love and oneness. Therefore, the Gita says, work constantly, work, but don't be attached. Be not caught. Reserve unto yourself the power of detaching yourself from everything, however beloved, however much the soul might yearn for it, however great the pangs of misery you feel if you were going to leave it. Still, reserve the power of leaving it whenever you want. Never think that you are a victim. Never think that you are caught and stuck in obligation. Always retain the right to walk away into an infinite freeness. Hold nothing. Manifest freely everything. You've come to this world to tell the story of the beloved through your existence, motivated by a pure and infinite love and informed by a deep, spontaneous, and infinite wisdom. That is the meaning of life, and it only happens now. That's why we work on the means alone and let the manifestation, the result of it, be as it is. Our fulfillment is never the goal of life. Our fulfillment is a byproduct of manifesting our nature. It's never something to be sought. You cannot ever seek it and find it. It is a byproduct. It's a byproduct of moving out of the way and allowing the divine nature to decide the moment for you and to accept it as a gift from a perfect lover. A lover who has never violated you, has never done a wrong thing in this beautiful relationship. Attachment is the source of all our pleasures now. And you say, well, how can it be the source of our pleasures and the source of our misery? Well, there's a great hint in that. Your pleasures are your misery. Why? Because they'll end and you'll be left without them. So every pleasure that you grab will go away. So in every bit of pleasure, there is the same amount of misery. Learn that up front and no longer desire them and don't be attached to them. Be in them in the moment and it won't matter because you're not dependent on an imagination. You're not dependent on a pretense, on a narrative of egoism. You're dependent only on the fire that burns in the hearth of the heart, that fire of love. We are attached to our friends, to our relatives. We're attached to our intellectual and spiritual works. We're attached to external objects so that we get pleasure from them. What again brings misery but this very attachment? We have to detach ourselves to earn joy. Right? Attach ourselves to earn joy. That's one way of putting it, a funny way of putting it, I think. Because you're not earning it. You're an heir. It's yours by nature. What you're earning is the ability to experience it, to recognize it by surrendering your grasping of it. If only we had power to detach ourselves at will, there would not be any misery. We could always accept the moment. There would be no resistance. We wouldn't clutch on to anything, right? Wouldn't clutch on to anything. I remember that story. I don't know if it was Brahmananda, Vivekananda, I can't even remember names. It's just a soup salad of names in my head. But one of the disciples was meditating, right? It was cold and someone came along and dropped a blanket next to him, offered it to him while he was meditating. He noticed it while he was meditating. And he sat there, continued to meditate, and the thief comes along and takes the blanket. And he stays there and he continues meditating and smiles at the play. The Lord gives, the Lord takes away. Blessed is the name of the Lord, in the words of Solomon in that great book of Ecclesiastes in the Bible. If only we had the power to detach ourselves at will, there would be no misery. That man alone will be able to get the best of nature, who, having the power of attaching himself to a thing with all his energy, has also the power to detach himself when he should do so. Right? That's the ideal. Not to be detached always. No, not the ideal. The ideal is to be able to grab and to let go equally easily. Right? You have no right to say yes to something until you're able to say no to that something. If you have not earned the ability to say no, you do not have the authority to say yes. That's everything in your life. Do not chase the things that you're not going to be able to let go of. Be careful not to get trapped. Be careful not to get caught in this world. The perfect man can put his whole soul upon that one point of love, yet he's unattached. How comes this? Well, there's another secret to learn, he says. Whatever we do, we want a return. We are all traders. We are traders in life. We are traders in virtue. We are traders in religion. And alas, we are also traders in love. Right? Ask, he says, this is how we get caught. How? Not by what we give, but by what we expect. That is how we get caught. To not be able to detach means that you have an expectation. You have a want in that thing. We get misery in return for our love, not from the fact that we love, but from the fact that we want love in return. There is no misery where there is no want. Desire or want is the father of all misery. Desires are bound by the laws of success and failure, and desires must bring misery. Why? Because they're caused by a fatal assumption that I am not complete in this moment. This moment is God. If you're not complete in this moment, you don't know God. If you are not content in this moment, as you are, you do not know the beloved. You have not yet understood how much love there is within you, how much wisdom there is within you. You have not yet touched that which in you has never changed, is immortal and eternal, free of body, free of limitation, free of mind. It exists only in this present, because that's all there is. Find your contentment in being. Find it inside. The danger is, it's very difficult to find a moment that's perfect for a body. Moments are not often perfect for a body. So it's not a matter of going out and finding a perfect circumstance to put a body in. It's a matter of understanding you're not the body and letting its concerns fall by the wayside so that you can see a perfection that is just beyond it a little bit. And the mind, the moment is never perfect for the mind. The mind's a moving target. It's like trying to nail Jello to the wall. It's not going to happen. You know, the mind has no state that's constant. So how can you satisfy it? How can a moment be perfect for it? So after we get tired of trying to find a perfect condition for mind, we come to know I'm not the mind. And then you become unconcerned with the conditions that it's concerned about. And then you find that for the self, every moment has always been perfect because it is God. It is its lover. It is the presence of its one and only companion. Its one and only fulfillment that never ends, that never began, that is infinite in its scope, undated in its expiration, and ever free. Ask nothing and want nothing in return. Give what you have to give. It will come back to you. But do not think of that. Don't think of that right now. It will come back multiplied 1,000-fold. But the attention must not be on that. Right? That's why we say that our fulfillment is a byproduct. It's a byproduct of being present. It's not a thing that you can run after because it's not a thing that is real. It's not a thing that actually exists. You have the power to give. Give, and there it ends. There's nothing more. You don't need any more books on Vedanta. That's the one truth you only need to know. Be present, see it as perfect, and live to give. That's it. Realization will pour on you like an infinite ocean. By that practice alone. Surrender. Let it all be as it is. You have the power to give, and there it ends. Learn that the whole of life is giving. that nature will force you to give. So give willingly. All right, don't run it through your ego to calculate whether or not the person deserves it. Oh, he didn't invite me to his party. I'm not inviting him to mine. Ah, what is that, you miserable cow? You know, no, invite him to every party. Give him the best seat at the table. Lavish him with the best dessert and the biggest drink and the nicest napkin, the most comfortable chair, and do it freely, you know, and then realize, oh my gosh, I have to get another big, most comfortable chair for the other person that I don't like. And fill the room with love, and there will be no enemy in it. Fill the room with equanimity, and there will be no one hungry in that room. Give, that's all. No calculation, no wondering, no expectation. Give for the sake of giving from the infinite store of love that you have. Stop letting your ego turn what is a vast ocean into a tablespoon, right? Just stop it. That's all. Just stop it. This is the first lesson to learn. Be determined not to curse anything outside. Why? Because the moment is perfect. What are you cursing in a perfect moment? Right? Do not curse anything outside. Not to lay the blame upon anyone outside. But be a man. Even the ladies. Be a man. Stand up. Lay the blame on yourself. Right? Because incidentally, all of us have male and female in us. It's just a matter of degree. So all of us, when he says manliness, it has nothing to do with gender. It has to do with strength and the things we represent with manliness. And when he says be loving, be the mother. Be the mother. He's saying open up the heart, open up the patience, open up the nurturing, open up the strength of attachment, these things. Stand up, lay the blame on yourself. You will find that is always true. Get hold of yourself. I love that phrase. I'll make a little t-shirt. Get hold of yourself. Pull it together. You slap somebody in the nose. Get hold of yourself. This is exactly what you need to do when you're living in expectation. When you're metering out your love in little pieces. When you can't find the moment as perfect. You're sitting there longing for change, longing to live somewhere else, longing to have more money, longing for another partner, longing for a different car, wanting different clothes, all these different things that you long for. When you find yourself in that state, just metaphorically slap yourself. Get hold of yourself. Come back right here. Hey, right now. Stop living in the not here, not now. Come back right here. We tell the mind, we raise that toddler up properly. Teach it to be disciplined. Teach it to be full of love and absent of ego. Get hold of yourself. The next time you see these silly phrases about the world and how we must all help God and do this or that for him, remember this. Do not think such thoughts. They are selfish. All the work you do is subjective, is done for your own benefit. God has not fallen into a ditch for you and me to come and help him. He's not fallen into a ditch so that we can run out and build him a hospital or something of that sort. He allows you to work. He allows you to exercise your muscles in this great gymnasium. Do not in order to help him, but that you may help yourself. Do you think even an ant will die for want of your help? Most errant blasphemy. The world does not need you at all. It has gone on for billions of years before you were born, and you will be quite surprised at how quickly it gets back to the matter at hand when you die. I had this before I became a monk, before I cared about religion, before I even knew anything of my own existence, if I know anything now. I was taking care of a man with AIDS. And I had been with him the night before, helping him wash his dishes and cleaning his room. The next morning, I went back for our next appointment, and there was a big truck pulled up in front of his house. And there was an old man carrying things out of his house because the guy that turns out had died that night was 27 years old. And I went to the gate and I stood there, and the man who was loading the truck came over to me. He says, "Can I help you?" And I said, is Tom here? He said, who are you? I said, oh, I'm his Shanti volunteer. I'm here just to help him out. And he says, Tom passed away last night. 27 years old. I was 27. I was deeply moved. I was deeply broken, actually, as I watched his father carrying his belongings out of his apartment and putting them in a truck, knowing he would never see his son again. And I wandered aimlessly for a little bit there, and I wandered to the top of this hill right there just before Twin Peaks in San Francisco. And I sat at the top of that hill, and I looked out over the city, and I saw that the city had already forgotten Tom. Everybody was bustling on the streets, just like they were always bustling on the streets. The stoplights were running, the cars were coming and going, people were buying groceries. And only I was thinking of Tom at the top of the hill. And I told Tom in my mind, I said, Tom, the world has already forgotten you, but I'll remember you. I won't forget you. I'll carry you. You know, and this is how we go. This is how we go forward, knowing in the end, the world forgets. It never needed me. Why? Because I was just an expression, a song that the beloved was singing. And when my voice falls out, the choir continues, singing the same song, singing the same story. Do you think that even an ant will die for want of your help? Most errant blasphemy. The world does not need you at all. The world goes on like you are a drop in the ocean. A leaf does not move, the wind does not blow without him. Blessed are we that we are given the privilege of working for him, not of helping him. Cut out this word help from your mind. You cannot help. It is blaspheming. You are here yourself at his pleasure. Do you mean to say you help him? You worship. When you give a morsel of food to the dog, you worship the dog as God. God is in that dog. He is the dog. He is all and all. We are allowed to worship him. Stand in that reverent attitude to the whole universe, and then will come perfect non-attachment. This should be your duty. This is the proper attitude of work. This is the secret taught by Karma Yoga. This is how we approach God. The highest worship is that of a man who loves God for God's sake. Right? And this is where we're going to bring in our 1 Corinthians verse that we went through when I was there. The highest worship is that of a man who loves love for love's sake. We love love for love's sake because it is the most beautiful thing. It is the most lovely. It is eternal. It does always bring about the right end. The highest worship is that of the man who loves God for God's sake. The question may be asked, why should there be so much sorrow if there is a God? The worshiper replies, there is misery in the world because of that I do not cease to love God. I do not worship him to take away my misery. I love him because he's love itself. The other types of worship are a lower grade, but Krishna has no condemnation for anything. It is better to do something than to stand still. The man who begins to worship God will grow by degrees and begin to love God for love's sake. So just because you can't do it perfectly, so what? Only the ego is concerned about that. And we already were told, push the ego off the cliff. It has no good to it at all, right? Love. It doesn't matter what the return is. It doesn't matter anything. No conditions or circumstances are necessary. Just love. And love produces the byproduct of realization. Love produces the byproduct of joy, of bliss. Love for its own sake. And how do we attain purity living this life? Shall we all go to the forest caves? What good would it do Do we all have to become monks? Do we all have to become swamis? What good would it do? Then we'd all starve to death together, because there'd be no householders to feed us, no one to support us. He says, how do we attain this purity? If the mind is not under control, it is no use living in a cave, because that same mind will bring all disturbance there. We will find 20 devils in the cave because all the devils are in the mind. If the mind is under control, we can have the cave anywhere, wherever we are. It is our own mental attitude which makes the world what it is for us. Biggest circled so hard you put a hole in the page. Circled so hard that it would put a hole in the page. Right there. Understand this truth, and you can endure this life in bliss and joy. Right? If the mind is under control, we can have the cave anywhere, wherever we like. It is our own mental attitude which makes the world what it is for us. Our thoughts make things beautiful. Our thoughts make things ugly. The whole world is in our own mind. Learn to see things in the proper light. First, believe in this world, right? We were told it's just an illusion, but Ramakrishna comes and says, no, it's not just an illusion. The illusion is what you think it is, but the reality is behind it. Believe in this world. Know that there is divinity behind it. Believe in this world, that there is meaning behind everything. Everything in the world is good. Everything in the world is holy. Everything in the world is beautiful. Words from the divine right there. If you can't see it, it's because you're not living in the shrine, you're living in the mind. You're not living in the unchanging, absolute, the image of the beloved. You're living in the ever-flickering, changing unreality of mind. Everything in the world is good, is holy, and beautiful. If you see something evil, think that you are not understanding it in the right light. Throw the burden on yourself, right? He said this a couple of times. Do you know why this is so important? If you blame someone else for your troubles, then you are a victim, and you have given them the power. How are you going to change without the power? How are you going to change if the change has to be outside of yourself? Take responsibility. Adjust for the obstacles. Move with the changes. Resist nothing. You go and one of my favorite moments happened a few years ago when I first moved to Colorado. I was on the western side of the mountains, which is very arid and desert-like, and there are these wonderful desert, I guess, cypress trees, and many of them are dead. But in their death, they are absolutely beautiful. And I was sitting there looking at that structure of this wonderful, twisted, gray, gnarled wood, formed by the desert. And I could see the whole story of the life of the tree reaching for light. I saw that all of its branches reached and pushed to the sky to reach an ideal, to reach pure love, to reach light. And that every twist in those branches told the story of how it had to adjust to the moment to see its perfection, how it had to move to grow around that rock, how it leaned this direction because the wind blew constantly from that direction. And I saw in that the story of what life is for us. No attachments. Obstacle comes, we adjust. Change comes, we adjust. We accept it. We take it. My friend dies. I go sit on the hill and think about them, and I keep going. I pay my obeisance to my relationship and to my love for him, and I let go. I detach, because now is the time for detachment. And because I've practiced, and because I've sat with my beloved, my detachment doesn't become a loss. It becomes a sitting back into the lap of my mother to find my contentment there and not in friends that pass away. So first, believe in this world, that there is meaning behind everything, that everything is good, holy, and beautiful. If you see something evil, know that you're not understanding it. Whenever you are tempted to say that the world is going to the dogs, we ought to analyze ourselves, and we should find that we have lost the faculty of seeing things as they are. Work day and night. Behold, I am the Lord of the universe. I have no duty. Every duty is bondage, but I work for work's sake. If I cease to work for a minute, there would be chaos. So do thou work. Work without any idea of duty. Nothing outside of us is making us do things. Nothing outside of us is making us hungry to run after it. Our work is for its own sake. What is its own sake? Satchit Ananda. Our work is an expression. It's an expression of a perfection that we intuitively know because we brought it into this world with us. We brought perfection and its ideas into a world that has no perfection. We brought the ideas of infinite beauty into a world that has no infinite beauty. We brought the idea of immortality in a world that has no immortality. We brought an unconditioned love into a world that has no unconditioned love. And we manifest, and we manifest, and we manifest tirelessly because it is an inspiration and not a duty. It is a gratitude and not a hunger. This is how we live as the spiritual immortals in this world. This world is a play, and you are his playmates, Vivekananda says. Go on and work without any sorrow, without any misery. See his play in the slums. See his play in the saloons. Work to lift people, not that they are vile, not that they are degraded. Krishna does not say that. Do you know why so little good work is done? My lady goes to the slum and she gives a few pennies and says, my poor men, take that and be happy. Or my fine woman walking through the street sees a poor fellow and throws 5 cents his direction. Think of the blasphemy of it. Blessed are we that the Lord has given us his teaching. In your own testament, Jesus says, inasmuch as you have done unto the least of these, my brothers, you have done it to me. It is blasphemy to think that you can help anyone. First, root out this idea of helping, and then go to worship. God's children are your master's children, and children are but different forms of the Father. You are his servant. Serve the living God. God comes to you in the blind, in the halt, in the poor, in the weak, in the diabolical. What a glorious chance for you to worship. The moment you think that you are helping, you undo the whole thing and you degrade yourself. Knowing this, work. What follows, you say? You do not get that heartbreak, that awful misery. Then work is no more slavery. It becomes a play. It becomes a joy itself. Work. Be unattached. That's the whole secret. If you get attached, you will become miserable. To leave it with that. Be free. Be inspired in the moment. Never work to get because you can't ever take. Your nature is to give. You walked into this world naked, empty, broke, not a penny to your name, and you will walk out of it in the same condition. So do not imagine it was the clothes and the things that you could attain, the honor and the respect, the name, the fame, the riches. Do not think that they were the meaning of life. You have made a fatal mistake. You came here to give. That's why you have no bag to take. You came here to manifest. That's why you're not the doer. You came here to be. And that is why we have no goal. We simply are manifesting our verb of love, our verb of wisdom, our verb of existence, in honor of the ever-present now that gave it all to us. That's it. Nothing else is necessary. Anyone have a question or a correction, an argument?
I have a question, Swami.
Yes.
Was that a scripture you were quoting at the end? The one about Jesus and I know there's what you have done for the least of these, you have done for me. But did you expand on that, or is that expansion in the scripture that you quoted?
I was reading from Karma Yoga, but the scripture is in Revelation, and I'll read you the whole Christian reference. It says, the king will say to those on, this is during Judgment Day, the king will say to those on his right, come, you who are blessed of my Father. Take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me. Then the righteous will answer him, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you? When? When were you thirsty and we gave you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and you invited us in, or you needed clothes and we clothed you? When did we see you sick or in prison? When did we go to visit you? And the king will reply, truly, I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these, you did for me. So that's the direct quote, and that's in the book of Revelation in the New Testament.
Revelation, what chapter and verse?
You're gonna have to Google that. I didn't write it down. I can tell you the verses, but not the chapter. Is that helpful? It was a verse 34 through 40 of Revelation, probably. I don't know.
Swami?
Yes.
I believe it's from the Gospels. I think it might be from Matthew. I'm not quite sure, but it's in the Gospels. Christ said that.
Yes. Well, this quote is from the Revelation, but yes, he says it multiple times. Yeah, in there, for sure. And I'm sure the Gospels reference it as well. Yeah. Is that direct quote? Is that whole thing from Matthew? Is that what you're saying?
I know it's in, yeah, I think it's Matthew.
Okay, I'll do a quick search here and see.
I know he spoke that. One of my favorite passages.
Yeah, well, that's good. It's a beautiful passage. Let's see.
Swami,
Yes.
the same thing Sri Ramakrishna also said at one time when Shambhu Malik comes and says, oh, I have to go. I have a plan to build a hospital. Sri
Right.
Ramakrishna said to him, you think you are helping them? This is what he said,
Yes. Well, that which was Ramakrishna is the same as that which was Jesus. So yes, Ramakrishna said that in that instance. He also said this, and this is right. It's in Matthew 25, verses 37 through 40. If you want to look it up, that particular one. There's also that scene in Revelation where he says the same thing to them. So that's there. Yes, Thakur has said all of this. There's not a scripture Thakur didn't say.
And also, actually, Vivekananda also said the same thing, love for the sake of love. Because when Ramakrishna said, why you are still coming to see me? I'm completely ignoring you. He said, I love you.
Yes, I come because I love you, not because you pay attention to me, right? So remember that when your meditation has been dry for 10 years. Remember that when you've been bored in the shrine for 3 hours. I come because I love you. I'm here just to enjoy love with you. I'm not here for anything. I don't need a little bliss bubble or a buzz or a happy feeling inside. I don't need any reward for my sitting. I sit just to remember you, just to be in that beauty. That is enough for me. Yes, Umar.
Swamiji, I cannot describe enough how much everything, every word that you say meant to us. And
That's
it's
wonderful. But
deeply inspiring. And I agree with everything that you say, like mind in control. If your mind is in control, you can look upon anything with a meaning underlying for your own self, for your own upliftment. I don't know the exact word, but that's what I mean. That inspires us to love and be good. Now, my question, how do you see God in an abusive person, in a murderer, in somebody who exploits another person, or in wars? Thousands of people, and now Israel and Palestine are fighting, and Russia and Ukraine. So when you see such horrible happenings, how do we associate it with love? And you have to say that you love.
yes, Mother, that it's a dangerous question because the answer can only be understood from a very high perspective, one that we don't see. So the real answer is, when you are confronted with such a person, alleviate suffering. There was you remember Viktor Frankl in the concentration camps. You know, he was asked, how did you survive this? Well, he didn't worry about being in that highest state and seeing God in everything, which would just evaporate the whole dream as a dream. What did he do? He said, I didn't think about my past because it would cause too much pain. He says, I didn't think about my future because I didn't think I had one. He said, I stayed in my present and I alleviated suffering. If someone in my bunkhouse was sick, I would split my food and give him half. If the children, when some atrocity was being committed, I would gather the children and I would tell them a story. I would entertain them to keep their eyes from seeing such a horrible thing.
I see.
So it doesn't justify it, but our practical mind, to give you the real answer to that, is meaningless because we can't accept it. Oh, it's just a dream. God is everywhere present. All things are done by love and love alone, that someone abuses someone for the love of power, and we should just see the love. That's the answer. But for where we are, that's not good enough. From the way we perceive the world, that doesn't work. And so what is it? We don't blame God for anything. We take a responsibility ourselves, and our responsibility is to manifest our nature. And in what Mother has given us to control, we manifest love. We alleviate suffering. We serve. That's all that we can do. And if Mother places you in a position of power where you can affect Palestine directly, then by all means affect Palestine directly. But if she's made you a bystander, then protest. Write a letter to your senator. Send money or go to Palestine or whatever you feel inspired to do, or support those who do go, you know. So
do your part, whatever you can under your circumstances, do it. And that's it. Work applies there. Do your part.
And don't look for results. Just give, and give some more. And that is our part. And if you do that with little, Mother will give you much.
Without expectation.
Without expectation.
Yes. Thank you.
Otherwise, it's bondage. Yes. Otherwise, it's slavery. Because there will never be enough for the result. Because as soon as you fix that war, then you've got to worry about the Ukraine one. And as soon as you fix that one, there's going to be another one there. And then there's going to be another one there and another one over there. And so we just keep doing our part until we understand and can accept the highest truth, that God is one without a second, and that love alone is being manifested. In a murder, it's a love for power. In theft, it's a love of security, whatever it is. Love is in every action. When we reach that point, we'll accept that answer and we'll disappear into the oneness of love. Until then, alleviate suffering. Take your responsibility, blame no one outside yourself, curse no one outside yourself, accept responsibility, and be Satchitananda. Manifest, manifest, manifest.
Thank you.
Swami, do you have time for another question?
Oh, yes.
This is
I have
Gaurav.
time.
This is Gaurav. It's sort of an observation. I just chanced upon this wonderful phrase that we are manifestation of divine. Means there's nothing that needs to be created.
Right.
So, and we are just in a world stage. It's basically a big movie that's going on, and we're just actors in it.
Well, we're not even the actors in it. We think we're the actors.
We think that we are actors. Yeah, we've been assigned roles or responsibilities.
No, not even that. You have not been assigned a role. You believe yourself.
I believe myself.
It's what we're doing is we're watching a movie from sitting in the seat in the theater, but we're weeping when the man breaks up with the woman.
Exactly.
Right? Because for a moment we believe ourselves to be that person and we know that feeling. And we're like, oh, we cry, and then the movie's over and we walk away, right?
What I cry for, what I feel sad about is basically my ego telling me, hey, this would have been the ideal outcome, but that's for you. You're not seeing the big picture in any capacity. So
yes. Always remember you are the witness only.
Just ride along with whatever wherever mommy takes you. That's it. So don't worry about it.
With awareness, always be aware of the divine
that
presence.
She is the one who's in control, doing everything. So
she's the only doer, right? The people that made the movie are the only ones that did something.
Yes, well, that's it.
Swami?
Yes.
Yeah, my name is Swayam, and I have a question. This whole thing about evil, I know it's a never-ending question, and I also understand your answer about do the best you can under the circumstances until you reach that highest level. And intellectually, when you're trying to be at the higher level and thinking, say, for example, in Murderer, the love of power is making him murder. How do you reconcile, or how do you stop on the other end? So the murderer loves power, so is murdering. But what about the victim? How do we not suffer with the suffering of the victim if we cannot help?
Yes, there's always a balance in it. Again, the answer is very unsatisfactory. Everything is always in perfect balance. So he who murders must be murdered. And so we are witnessing only a boundaried segment of it. But that's not a satisfying answer, because what do we know of lives and samskaras and all of that? Again, the victim is a victim. So there's not much doing there. So we don't have anything to understand in the victim other than he suffered, he subjected himself, or was subjected to this. There's not a satisfying answer for the intellect to absorb, because really the ultimate answer is not in the intellect and can't be in the intellect. There is the ultimate answer, again, until we come to that level of consciousness. There was no one killed and there was no one who killed. The God is one without a second. And this is a story. This is a play. This is a book. If you don't like the book, set it down and nothing happens. So come to the moment. The moment never changes. In the moment, there is only the divine principle that inspires us. And so we go from that. We won't understand these things for many, many different reasons that again, take such a high level of awareness and consciousness that they're not acceptable to an intellect, to us who think we're a body. And so we think of bodies suffering, to those of us who are minds and think of mind suffering. There is no way out. It's only when we know that we're not this mind and that we're not this body and that no one suffers because the soul cannot be wedded, it cannot be burned, it cannot be touched. When we come to know that, everything resolves itself, which means these questions belong to the dream. But when you wake up, they're not important. They don't make any sense. You know, in the dream, you can fly and you can study it. How did I fly? Oh, I moved my hands like this and I flew and all of that. And in the dream, you could write up a long book about how to fly in a dream. And then you wake up. What use was that knowledge? You were never in the dream. You were never a person. You never flew. There was none of this ever was. The past was a figment of your imagination. The dream was a conjuring of mental stuff, right? Of Brahman, really, but of mental stuff. And so that's, we have to discern what questions of ours belong to our nature and what questions of ours belong to the dream. And those ones that belong to the dream will resolve through transcendence and not through reasoning. They won't fit, the answers won't fit into a time-space causation very easily. The answers lie in inspiration. They lie in nature, in being. And so we have to wait until we wake up and then we put our questions forward, if there's any that remain.
Swami,
Thank you.
A few years back, when Harinamananda came here, he told
Yes.
an actual story. This happened in San Diego. Actually, one of gentleman's son, he's the only son. He was shot by somebody, and that person died, and all those things. The father, because of his love or whatever it is, used to go to every week to see that person who is in the jail. And after 20 years, when he came out, he adopted him as his son.
My
Okay.
Wow.
There is the power of love. Wow, what an amazing story.
Swamiji,
Can you see the amount? Can you see the amount of commitment and dedication to healing that father had to allow that to happen in himself, that transformation? Now, if I had come to him and said, you have to love that murderer like your own son, how would that have sounded? And who would have thought that that could have been possible and that should ever be expected, right? And yet here we see it. A man whose son was taken in murder adopts the murderer as his own son and learns to love him as his son. You are divine, and the manifestation of that divinity can be infinite if you can remove the egoism that is in you. And that is what that man did.
We have one more question from the audience.
hi, Swamiji, it's Vicky. From a different perspective, during the Cultural Revolution and when Tibetan monks and Tibetans were imprisoned and tortured by the Chinese, many of the monks and nuns came out of that situation and explained that the way they survived it was through maintaining their attitude of bodhicitta, because they realized that by losing their bodhicitta, their compassion for their oppressors, that it would only harm themselves. And they also maintained the bodhicitta because they felt bad about the future suffering that their torturers were going to have for what they were doing. So that's kind of a different perspective, but to me, it's a very practical one. I think it's, in a way, it's easier to accept. I mean, in a way, it seems less lofty than what we've been talking about. But I don't think it really is less lofty, but in a way, yeah, but in a way, it feels that way.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing, it's that love for love's sake, compassion for compassion's sake. It's, the part about their future, that's, for most of us, that's an assumption. We don't know those things. And so to act from something we don't know is rather difficult. But to be in the moment and to be surrendered to your nature as Satchitananda and manifest that is really the same answer as that. You know, it's that is the source of your compassion. And the only way to express it is through a lack of egoism. And a lack of egoism is the same as being present, being in the moment completely. You know, no story behind you, no story in front of you. You do what is loving, you do what is wise by your nature through the inspiration of your being. And that becomes more and more inspired, the thinner and thinner ego becomes. And it becomes more and more expressed, the thinner and thinner that ego becomes. Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you very much for sharing that. Yeah, that's great.
I mean, the Dalai
Swamiji,
Lama
namaste.
and others always describe that's the situation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Jnani yogis.
But when you
Namaste, Swamiji. This is Shailesh here.
Hi, Sailesh.
Hi. Sorry, I'm still recovering. But I do agree with Vicky what she said. It's really practical because we have been hearing all these lofty ideals of loving the killer of your son, and it's really impractical in a way, at least from my perspective. But what Vicky was saying is that understanding that people do react, whatever karma people are doing, they will face the consequences, and having compassion for them. And this can be applied in our own family situation, because sometimes your kids or your partners will start doing things to you, disagree with you, and sometimes put you to the suffering. And then when we know that we love them, and then we say that, you know what, I know what you're doing is something wrong, and you're going to pay for this, but I really feel for you, because eventually that karma will catch up with you. And I think I do agree. Of course, we don't say these things because then it aggravates the situation, but that's what it happens with me. And I think it's a very practical way of accepting it, that and then we bring that compassion in, and so that actually helps to reduce the tension, or go through that suffering, or overcome that suffering. Maybe a
Yes.
husband said something, oh, you don't do this, don't do that, and then you know that I'm doing it right.
Yes.
So things like
I'm-
that, just something
Right.
practical.
Yeah, I'm going to reject outright, though, that we're talking about lofty ideals. Our teaching this morning was be present in the moment, take what the moment gives to you, apply Satchitananda to it, and move on. There is nothing more practical than that. It is the secret of work. It is the secret of being. It eminently practical and does not require a single ideal. Requires only surrendering to the moment as perfect, manifesting what you are by your nature, and doing it again, and doing it again, and doing it again. We can build lofty philosophies out of it, as became a fruit of our discussion, but we didn't begin with lofty ideals. We began with an imminent practicality.
Right, but like you said, you didn't begin that way, but the ending of being able to see the killer and the killed as one and the same, that's very lofty, so.
Yes, well, everything will get lofty. Everything can go to the highest ideals, there's no doubt, but we begin where we are. The Vedanta came from a rishi sitting down and discerning. In this moment, the scriptures that the rishis wrote from sitting in silence and discerning can be written by you by the same practice.
Right.
Yes, they're only lofty because they're beyond our present state.
Yes.
Talk to somebody who's done the work. Talk to somebody who's put their practice where their mind is, where their mouth is. And it will not be a lofty ideal. You will see it manifesting and unfolding in them.
Yeah.
So the loftiness depends on where you have put your point of presence, your point of egoism. If it's lofty, pull your pin out, move it higher, get closer to the ideal, and then it won't be so lofty.
So, Swami, do you have more time, or should we wrap up the meeting?
Oh, I'm under the impression I have infinite time.
Swami, I just have a quick comment. And like you said, let the ideal be where it is and try to lift ourselves up to the ideal and not bring the ideal down.
Yeah.
I think that's something that we need to keep in mind and work on. But I have a different take on what Shailesh said about when we get disturbed by somebody that we love, family member, and think that we are being compassionate by thinking, oh, you're going to suffer for your karma. The other way, I don't want them to suffer from my karma. I would
No.
rather pray. The compassion is I would pray that you don't know what you're doing, and I hope you don't suffer for it.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I didn't mean to say that you're going to suffer. I just, it was just my, I think it just brings more compassion into it, saying that, this is what this is what is happening. But yeah, I don't wish someone close to me suffer because of what they're doing to me. I didn't mean that. Sorry.
Yes, yes. And I'm going to step out and take a risk here for a moment and talk about karma in a sense. Karma is not an inherent reality. Karma is a theory. And the theory that was given to us was not to explain the way things are. We're not to use karma to explain the way things are, because we will never know enough of the variables to be able to tell anybody that that's their karma. Because we will judge karma based on our attachments. If we're attached to wealth, we think that getting money is good karma, when in fact getting that money may be the reason you haven't realized God. You see, so we do not have the tools to use karma to explain the condition that is. Karma was given to us to teach you that destiny lies in your hands, that in this moment you are creating your tomorrow. Karma was given to you to be able to make gold out of whatever you are given. It is not given to you to explain your condition, because you do not have the wisdom nor the knowledge of the circumstances and variables to determine even your own karma. So it is a wrong step and a wrong thinking to use karma to explain someone's condition. There is no such thing as bad karma, because all karma is going to result in realization and freedom. All karma is bringing us forward. There is no such thing as bad karma. We talk about good and bad karma because we're stuck in an ego that judges the world in a duality as it approaches us. Everything outside of us is neutral until it meets Brahman within us, and then it becomes gold. But if it meets an ego, it becomes good or bad. It takes on a duality. It helps me or it hurts me. And that is not necessarily based on wisdom. Our judgment is clouded because we are not perfect. And so we think that things are nice to the body, that's good karma. Things that are hard on the body, oh, that's bad karma. Things that are good for the mind, oh, that's good karma. Things that are bad for the mind, oh, that's bad karma. But that is wrong thinking and a very delusional way of approaching the world, because the thought of looking at a person and saying, oh, that's their karma, you have completely violated any sense of compassion. Any sense of compassion. Sri Nisargadatta says, when you see someone suffering, if you don't have an ego, you suffer. And your nature kicks in to alleviate that suffering. And your act is an act of worship to the self that you have in common with that sufferer. He says an egoed man or an unrealized man will see a sufferer and help that sufferer to alleviate their suffering, which is the errant blasphemy, according to Vivekananda, what we read this morning. You cannot help anybody. You have nothing to give. Everything you have is borrowed, right? And to think that you're going to take your borrowed stuff that you're borrowing for this lifetime, and that you're going to help an eternal principle in the world somehow by what you do or give or say, errant blasphemy. Yours is to worship. And worship is the expression of the highest ideal in its presence. Worship is also a byproduct of being in the presence of the divine. You cannot do anything else but worship in the presence of the divine. So it's like that. Yes, high ideals. Yes, they are. They all have practical manifestations, and you are that.
Swami Gaurav, again, I felt the pain that we associate ourselves with our family and everything is because I am identifying it as my family, my house, my kids. It means I'm a father to, I have a daughter, but I'm just a custodian of hers. She ain't mine. So it is the ego at the end of the day. So channelizing that ego of mine towards mom's, mom is doing it. It's mom's. It's hers. Not. I think that's a positive way of gradually eliminating ego altogether.
Right. We can't really channel ego toward that. What we do is we try to thin ego so we can perceive it. You know, we sit there and discern a little bit. Wait a minute. This daughter of mine, I'm going to die. How mine is she? She's going to carry on beyond me. I carried on before her. So, you know, the attachment, you know, that's when Vivekananda says that all misery is the outcome of desire. All misery is the outcome of attachment. That implies all misery is due to egoism. You know, the sense of me and mine. He means it. And the only way through that is either to expand yourself to include everybody in your sense of self, which is real compassion, to see the oneness that way, or to worship God in everything that you see as other. Is the other way of
that's what I found to be extremely beneficial. Is it's everything's hers.
Yeah.
I mean, this being here is talking to you because she wants it. Means she wills it. She's there within me, and it's just the energy, the shakti is flowing through my brought out this body.
Yes, that's it. And actually, you are her.
Yes, amazing. I have not realized it. Yes.
That's it. That's it. She's the only actress in this play.
Yes. Yes.
Swami, I just wanted to say OMG to your summarization of karma, and I hope that the people who are in charge of the communications will post this recording because I want to listen to it again and take notes.
All right. I like that at the feet of whoever whoever does these things. Yes, all of this, you know, someone was trying to credit me with these things this morning. I read these things. I learned these things at the feet of Thakur Mahant Swamiji. I'm a mimic. Anything that you find inspiring here, anything that you think came from here, is coming from something I read and studied and learned from our master. So please direct your credit and your excitement toward that, because he and she and that is equally available to all of us. There's no mystery in individuals. Everything that all of us have is available to each of us. And so own it and enjoy it and take it and, you know, worship because of it, because that is a sign that you are drawing close to the presence, is that you begin to worship. You begin to act out of inspiration, of a knowledge of love. And that will bring you home faster than any words. Good. Yes, Uma.
I have one question regarding love. I do believe in love for love's sake. However, when you read a story about a father who is driving and was on the road, and in the back seat, his family was there, including their 2-year-old son, who started crying as 2-year-old do. And he asked him to shut up, don't cry, you're disturbing, etc. Then it came to a point when he got so upset, so mad, he pulled over the car and started beating his 2-year-old until that baby died.
Uh-huh.
And I want to believe in love. And I know that we are not perfect, that sometimes anger takes over. But how do you...
Mother, you know, first of all, stop causing yourself to lose any sense of peace by coming up with the most challenging scenarios of this manifestation. If this has not happened to you, then get it out of your head. It has nothing to do with you. If the story didn't happen to you, stop making it up, because there is no answer to made up stories or to stories that are repeated. That man's problem was his ego. That man's problem was not whether love is true or not true. That man's problem was that he took love and used it for his selfish means. That man was annoyed by his child, and instead of realizing, oh, that is the boundary of my ego, I have to expand and include that child into my sense of self, which should be the easiest thing in the world, and end the story there. He didn't do that. It's not a matter of whether we believe in love or not. It's a matter of whether we're willing to give up our ego for the sake of love or not.
Right. But how do I love that person? How can you love everybody who is not?
Well, Mother, you don't have to love everybody. You have to love the people that are in your room right now. You have to love the people that you bump into when you walk out of the door of that room right now. And you don't have to do it for the rest of your life. You just have to do it right now. That's it. Don't make a big problem. Don't think that you have to go out and be Jesus and be crucified for the whole wide world right now. You just have to go out and love the person that you're in the room with. You have to expand to include the people that you meet today. And that's it. That's all Mother has given you. She hasn't brought this man to you and said, here, Uma, I want you to love this man. By the way, he just killed his 2-year-old daughter in the car this morning. That's not your responsibility, and that's not your problem. Stop. Get it. You will not find peace of mind by studying Vedanta like that. Be where you are. Accept what Mother has given you to be responsible for. Manifest your love in this moment and do the next. And then do it again and do it again. And when you die, we'll say, Uma did that for her entire life. Right? When all you did was moment by moment by moment by moment.
Thank you.
Can we close the meeting with this prayer?
Yes, please do.
We close our meeting with the ancient prayer for peace. Let there be peace in our outer space.
Let there be peace
in outer space.
Let there be peace in the sky, on the earth, and in the waters.
Let there be peace in the sky, on the earth, and in the waters.
Let there be peace in the herbs, the plants, and the trees.
Let there be peace in the earth, the plants, and the trees.
May the gods be peaceful.
May the gods be peaceful.
May the whole universe be pervaded by peace.
May the whole universe
Infinite universal peace prevail throughout my being.
Let this infinite universal peace prevail throughout my being.
All beings.
Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Om Shanti, Shanti.
Shanti.
Thank you, Swami.
Thank you, Swami.
Really wonderful.
Joyma.
Jai Ma. Go
Joyma.
forward.
Thank you,
Go forward. Go
Swami.
forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Jai Ma.
Joyma.
Jai Ma. Balakrishna,
Yes.
you're not leaving, are you?
Why? What happened?
I want to ask you a question. I'm in the monastery. I'm on the Zoom.
Yeah, I can. I'm going to come there.
Okay, good. I just wanted to ask you a question before you left. Thank you.
Okay.